Vande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjara Shakaya Chakshu Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I'd like to welcome you to the first day of our seminar on Bhagavad-Gita at a glance. What you are about to see here on this PowerPoint is taken from this book, Bhagavad-Gita at a Glance. All the pictures are in this book. So in case you want to have a lasting impression, you can get the book after. It has a CD and a poster. And what you're seeing now is the poster, which is included in the book. It's the whole Bhagavad-Gita at a glance, all the 18 chapters. And if you're about to go into the, if you go into the CD, then you click on one of these, and the chapter will open up to all the sections. And if you click on a section, it'll open up to the verse and the picture for every verse of Bhagavad-Gita. So here we are. We are at the beginning. We're seeing the whole picture now. The first 6 chapters are here, starting here, and that is entitled Karma Yoga. Lord Krishna advises Arjuna to fight for him without attachment to the results. So everyone can please Krishna through his work. The middle 6 chapters are Bhakti Yoga, most confidential knowledge, always chanting Hare Krishna, offering obeisances to Krishna, praying to the deities, following the regulations, sadhana bhakti. One can please Krishna. So that's the middle 6 chapters here. This is the 11th chapter. It looks kind of like a mandala, the universal form here, being shown to Arjuna. And the last 6 chapters, Jnana Yoga. Whoops, no, we don't want to go there yet. Jnana Yoga, worshipping Krishna through intelligence and knowledge. So we'll go to the first chapter, part 1. There's 2, each of these petals is a verse of Bhagavad-Gita. So we've got 700 petals coming up. Preparations for war is divided into 2 sections. Dhritarashtra is asking his secretary Sanjay, what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do? Here he's seeing the whole battlefield in his heart, and he's narrating the whole events of Bhagavad-Gita to Dhritarashtra. That's how it starts. He's worried that his sons might lose, and it's good. He should worry because they are going to lose. And here is Bhishma blowing his conch shell, enlivening his army. But then, on the other side, we see signs of victory. Krishna and Arjuna blow their transcendental conch shells. So I'm going to read from this book, verse 14. Both Krishna and Arjuna on chariot with horses white, with transcendental conch shells, proclaim, "We will win the fight." So, and I'm going to tell you some lessons here. And after the picture, I'll ask you, what lessons did you learn? So for each picture, you're going to learn some lessons. Some philosophical, some other. So one lesson that we learn here, wherever Krishna is present, and whenever you find Arjuna, there will be victory. Sign of victory. The first sign is Krishna is there. Arjuna is there. Must be victory. The other signs are there, Hanuman on the flag of Arjuna. And so the Bhishma, their conch shells were no competition for Krishna and Arjuna's conch shells. In fact, the fighters here couldn't, it was tearing apart their hearts when they heard this transcendental sound. And they were getting afraid, the other side here, verse 19. Okay. So I already told you that, so I won't ask you. Now here, Bhakta Vatsala, Krishna is driving Arjuna's chariot, and Arjuna is ordering him to please put my chariot between the 2 armies. So I'll read that verse 21 and 22. "O Achyuta, please drive my chariot between the armies here. I want to see with whom I'll fight, for they are near and dear." So the lesson we learn here, and this lesson you'll have to remember, is what is the meaning of achyuta? Infallible. Krishna is infallible, means Krishna never fails in his affection for his devotees. That's the topmost thing with Krishna. How he loves his devotees, even becoming the devotee's charioteer. So then Arjuna presents some doubts. He hesitates now between the two armies, and here's the two armies, and Arjuna's hesitating to fight. And he says, I cannot kill my relatives for several reasons. I don't want the throne. How can I enjoy without them? And then even they're aggressors. Still, why should I get sinful reactions. He's afraid of sinful reactions. And he doesn't care about heavenly kingdom or earthly pleasures. So these are some of his doubts. Another doubt is destruction of dynasty here. Destruction of dynasty, and the women become polluted, have unwanted children. And so this is his fear. And the name of this chapter in Sanskrit is Vishada Yoga, Yoga of Lamentation. Did you ever hear of such a yoga? Well, Arjuna was doing it. In the beginning of Bhagavad-Gita, he was practicing the Yoga of Lamentation, Vishada Yoga. The lesson is, if we forget Krishna, then we lament. Well, Krishna was right next to him, but he was forgetting. He was forgetting. And so it's possible. You could be right in the temple room with the deities and forget Krishna. You could be with Prabhupada and forget Krishna. And so be careful. So what was the first lesson we learned here in this chapter? Does anybody remember? Yes?
Krishna never fails in his affection.
Right. Krishna never fails in his affection for his devotees. That's here in Bhakti-Vatsala. And the other lesson was? What? I heard somebody say something. Never forget Krishna. Yeah. If we forget Krishna, we will lament. Good. Now we go into Chapter 2, Part 1, Arjuna's doubts and surrender. Further doubts. Why should we be greedy, even though they are? And finally, he surrenders. I'll read Chapter 7. Verse 7. Now I'm confused about my duty. Tell what's best for me, your surrendered disciple. To you I bend my knee. Lesson here that to solve the perplexities of life, one must approach a spiritual master. So here is Arjuna surrendering. No longer is he friendly, expressing his doubts. Now he's surrendering and asking for help. So all of us, most of us have taken that step and surrendered to the spiritual master. So that's the lesson here. When you're in doubt, surrender. Then the second section, soul is eternal. Here we see the change of body from boyhood to youth to old age. And I'll read verse 14, which is Krishna's first instruction. Happiness and distress are a temporary state. Like winter and summer seasons, just learn to tolerate. So the second lesson here is that if you know you're not the body, you are soul, you are a spiritual being, then you will tolerate. That's the second lesson here. What will you do if you know you're the soul? What is the behavior of a person who believes that he's a spiritual being, a soul? The first instruction is you will tolerate. So Arjuna had to tolerate a lot of things. Killing his own family, very difficult. And these are illustrations how the body is temporary, the soul is eternal. All of these illustrations here. Okay. Whoa, there's only one lesson here. I just told it to you. Huh? Tolerance. Very good. Okay, you got it. Was there another lesson? Oh, yeah. Yeah. When you're in doubt, when you're in perplexity, surrender to the spiritual master. Good. Qualities of the soul. Here we see it cannot be burned. I think I'll read that verse 24. The soul is unbreakable, insoluble, not dried or burned by flame. all-pervading, unchangeable, eternally the same. Well, that's this verse here. You can't kill the soul. You can't burn it, you can't dry it, you can't do any of these things. And the soul is everywhere, all-pervading. You can see here the tree, in the water, in the bird, in the air, in the fire. But unfortunately, the scientists cannot see it. No, they are looking for centuries on end. They cannot see the soul. They cannot make the soul. No, even one ant they cannot make, or a mosquito flying. Prabhupada challenged them. Let them make one mosquito flying. Yes, this is all about the soul. Now the next section is Shakti Is Dharma. Even, okay, you may think you're not the body. You may think you're the body, actually, and you're a Kshatriya. So if you're a Kshatriya, you should fight. Arjuna's argument was, if I fight, I'll go to hell. And Krishna says, no, if you don't fight, you'll go to hell. There's the opposite argument here. He's showing the Yamadutas taking Arjuna away if he doesn't fight. And so this is part 2. Part 3, Buddhi Yoga. Here we see, be transcendental to the Vedas. The Vedas are just like wells where Krishna is the ocean of water. If you want to get real knowledge, go to Krishna. Go to Krishna. And you should engage in devotion, Buddhi Yoga. That will break the chains of karma. Most people, they want to go to heaven. Of course, now they don't even know about how to go to heaven. Here's the Vedic sacrifices going to the heavenly planets. And so difficult for them to engage in devotional service. But devotional service liberates. Here we have here in this second section. I'll read verse 50. Back here. By devotion, you'll be free of good and bad while you're alive. It is the art of all work. Therefore, for this yoga, strive. Here we see the whirlpool of material existence. And devotees are getting out by chanting, by Harinam Sankirtan. We'll hear more about that in chapter 3. So let's go to the next one. Part 4, higher taste. Here is a lady, Vaishnavi, out on Sankirtan, and she's giving some simply wonderfuls to these people. They're getting a higher taste, and they're forgetting about meat, fish, and eggs. So many of us had to forget because we got a higher taste. So I'll read verse 59. Yogis artificially stop senses while material taste remains. Devotees get a higher taste, automatically refrains. So this is a lesson here. Sense control can be had only by higher taste. So if you want to control your senses, then you need a higher taste. And that you can get permanent sense control by higher taste. And here's the fall down sequence here in 61, 62, and 63. Lust, and then anger, illusion, intelligence is finished, and he's lost into the material pool. So don't go that way. Go for the higher taste. Then we have Samadhi. This last section, we can see how the rivers are flowing into the ocean. It's not being disturbed. So many desires may come into the heart of a devotee while he's chanting. But he keeps his mind focused on the sound of the holy name, and he's not disturbed by all these desires coming in. So the lesson here is verse 64. By following the regulative principles of freedom, one can go back to Godhead. And here he is, going back to Godhead in verse 64. So what was the first lesson that we learned here in this chapter, in this section, first section? Yeah. Higher taste, yeah. By higher taste, you can control your senses. And here, Samadhi, we also learned something here.
soul is eternal.
So is eternal. Okay, well that was in the beginning, and something at the end too. How should we go back to Godhead? How can we go back to Godhead? By following the regulative principles of freedom. Okay, we're in chapter 3, part 1. Arjuna asks, which is better, devotional service or renunciation? And Krishna says devotional service. He's going to ask this question over and over again and get the same answer from Krishna. Better you work, do your work, fight for Krishna. So I read verse, and premature renunciation may lead to fall down. And here we have the Sahajiya who's pretending to be renounced, but he's not. He has his girlfriends. When we went to Vrindavan in 1972, Prabhupada told us not to associate with the Babajis because they're like Markad Vairagya, they're like monkeys. The monkeys don't wear any clothes and they're vegetarian, but they have many wives. So he said, don't associate with them. So this is shown here in this verse 4, that they're pretending to be renounced, but not at all. And here it's better to be in family with devotional service. Have your deities, worship the deities. So I will read verse 9. Just make your work a sacrifice for Vishnu's satisfaction. Detachment you will gain and freedom from reaction. So the lesson here is better work for Vishnu than artificial renunciation. And sacrifice for Vishnu, that's here. So here we have the devotees doing Harinam Sankirtan, sacrifice. Demigods are all showering flowers, and the sun is shining, and this is the best sacrifice, Harinam Sankirtan. And here we have the farmer out in Almvik. I don't know if you plow with oxen here, but no, not yet. You're training them?
We always have plans to train.
You have plans, okay. Yeah, some places they do use oxen. Yeah, and the sun is shining at the same time it's raining. It's a very auspicious time when they both are happening. So the best sacrifice is Harinam Sankirtan. That's the lesson for this section here. What is the best sacrifice? Harinam, and that will bring rain, and that will bring sun. It will bring everything that you need to grow your crops and to grow people too. So what was the first lesson here in this first section? Worship Vishnu better than artificial renunciation. Okay, and the second one about
The holy name.
the holy name is the best sacrifice, right? Okay, we'll go to part 2 of chapter 3. Work as example. Here we see Maharaj Prataparuja sweeping the floor in front, sweeping the road in front of Jagannath. And the lesson here is whatever a great man does, common men will follow. I'll read verse 24. Krishna is speaking. If I shunned work, then all the worlds would end in ruination, destroying peace of everyone with unwanted population. So therefore, you should do your work. Even Krishna does his work. Krishna kills demons, Krishna worships the sages, Krishna gets married. So Krishna also does work as example. Now the second part is the ignorant and the wise. Here we have our Vaishnavi again distributing prasad to some demonstration here. And she's not disturbing them, she's not fighting with them philosophically, she's just giving them a higher taste. She's giving them maha prasadam. And so Krishna describes the ignorant worker here, and he said, don't disturb him. Don't advise him to artificially renounce, but to dovetail his work for Krishna. And verse 27 describes the mentality of the ignorant person. Bewildered by material modes, one thinks he does it all, yet actually he is not free, but works by nature's call. So lesson is don't advise anyone to artificially renounce, but to dovetail his work for Krishna. That is what they should do. So what was the first lesson here? Yes. What a great man does come and will follow. And the second lesson? Yes. Don't disturb the minds of the ignorant. Don't tell them to artificially renounce, but to engage them in Krishna's service. Yes. Especially in India, everybody thinks if you take up spiritual life, means you have to renounce your family, but it's not true. Your family also can be devotees and engage in devotional service, just like you. So, Part 3, work for Krishna. So one should faithfully follow Krishna's injunctions, his orders, and you will be freed from all your karma. Otherwise, you're stuck with the TV set. And that's what you do the whole day. Conquering lust. So this is all about lust, the second section here. Our greatest enemy is lust. It's sitting in our senses, mind, and intelligence. So, I mean, the soul is supposed to be the leader, but actually here the senses are controlling. How to make the soul the leader? Chant Hare Krishna. I read 41. Thus one must always curb this lust by senses regulation and slay this destroyer of self-realization. And that's the lesson. Curb the enemy lust by Krishna consciousness. So here we have the senses are following the intelligent, the mind is following, the intelligence. And the intelligence is listening to the soul, and lust is running away, far away. So what was that lesson? Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, just the essence is chant Hare Krishna. And so what will happen if you chant Hare Krishna? Yes. You'll regulate the senses, and lust will run far away. Good. There he is running. We'll go to chapter 4, part 1, knowledge of Krishna. It was spoken to the great kings. Krishna spoke to Vivaswan, to Manu to Ikshvaku, but the chain was broken. So again, he's speaking to Arjuna because he's a friend and devotee. But Arjuna says, you're not so old as the sun god, so how is it possible you spoke it to him? And so he said, yeah, I was there and you were there too, but you forgot and I remember. So knowledge of Krishna, I'll read verse 7. Whenever and wherever there is decline in religion, I come to bring true love of God and stop all irreligion. So lesson here, Krishna comes to protect the devotees and kill the demons and reestablish the principles of religion. And here's Lord Chaitanya coming, and everybody's chanting Hare Krishna. Again, Hare Krishna. Yes, it's a theme of Bhagavad-Gita, at least in the purports. You'll read about chanting Hare Krishna a lot, especially when we get to chapter 8. And so second para, Krishna satisfies everyone. Here we have the yogi, we have the impersonalist, we have the karmi. And Krishna is giving whatever they want. As we heard this morning, if you're going to pray, pray for something. Talk to Krishna. Even if it's you want something, that's okay. Just pray to Krishna. And here everybody's surrendering to Krishna, and Krishna gives according to their desires. If you want me, then Krishna will give you himself also, if you practice pure devotional service. Krishna satisfies everyone, and here it's talk about varnashram dharma. It is according to quality and work, not according to birth. Okay, so what was the lesson in the first section here? Why does Krishna come? Protect devotees and kill the demons. Good. And if you know this, if you understand his birth and activities, you will not take birth again. So chapter 4, part 2, analysis of karma. We won't even get into it. Here he's tearing his hair out, trying to figure out all this karma. Of course, it is explained if you study Bhagavad-Gita. Here it is, karma, akarma, vikarma. 3 things, 3 different kinds. Akarma is what we do, no sinful reaction, or pious reaction either. No reaction. But we go get a spiritual body to go back to Godhead. So karma yoga and knowledge, that's what we do. And here he's giving his money to Giriraj. He's offering everything to the deities. And going on Harinam, yay! Again, Harinam is all-pervading here in karma yoga. The best work for Krishna, the best sacrifice, and the best work, and the best yoga. Okay, then, sacrifice of knowledge. There's so many kinds of sacrifice. Here he's sacrificing the mind, sacrificing the senses, around burning fires, surrounded by burning fires and the hot sun. And so the yogis are doing tapasya, but the best sacrifice is sacrifice of knowledge, fighting for Krishna. And here the devotee is chanting Hare Krishna, sacrifice of knowledge. Now, if you want knowledge, Guru gives knowledge. Again, this lesson here is to get knowledge, approach a self-realized Guru. And here I'll read that verse. Approach a Guru and learn the truth. Inquire from him submissively and render your service since he has seen the truth decisively. And here he's in the boat of transcendental knowledge. Knowledge is going to burn up all your karma. So stay in the boat of knowledge, stay in the boat of Bhagavad-Gita, and you will be happy. So what was the lesson here in this chapter?
Sacrificing intelligence.
Sacrificing intelligence, okay. Anything else? Yeah. To get knowledge, go to Guru. Right. Now we're in chapter 5. Karma yoga is best. Again, Arjuna asked the same question. Again, he wants to make sure. Sometimes we keep asking the same question to our Guru. Well, Arjuna does that too. So don't feel bad. And he's asking, what's better, karma yoga or devotional service or renunciation? Or jnana yoga, yoga of knowledge. And Krishna says, they're both good, but karma yoga is best. You should fight. Don't give up your duty as a fighter. And that's equal to chanting the holy name. Here he's doing Harinam again. And it's equal to Jnana Yoga. It's equal to fighting. Process of Karma Yoga. If you work in devotion, you attain peace. You attain peace. Just like a lily leaf is untouched by the water, you will go above all your difficulties in life. I'll read verse 13. That's in the next part. City of 9 gates. How to be happy in your body. The body has 9 gates, and how to be happy in this city of 9 gates. When one controls his nature, no work he creates, and happily he resides in the city of 9 gates. So soul, super soul, and nature, very important understanding here in verse 15. We desire, we want something material, car or wife or husband, and we're going for it. And the super soul says, okay. And then material nature helps us to get what we want. So who is responsible? Who's the one who is going to get the reactions for this? It's us. It's the soul who desires. It's not material nature who carries it out. It's not the super soul who says, okay. It's you who are, the soul is responsible for the reactions to his work. So that's the lesson we learn here. The soul is responsible. Then we go on to super soul meditation in the second section here. And there's the peace formula. This is a lesson here. One who meditates on super soul is the best friend. Here he's the friend of all living entities. Lord of all planets. purpose of austerities, enjoys happiness. He will get peace, peace of mind. That's called the peace formula. Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and friend of all of us. And that is shown in this verse 29. So what was the lesson here in this first section? Yes? Soul is responsible for his sinful reactions. The super soul just says, he just sanctions. He doesn't desire what we desire. It's we are individually desiring things. And what was the second lesson here?
One can attain
Peace.
through understanding that Krishna is our Lord and well-wisher.
Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and best friend. Those three things. Okay? So now, chapter 6, part 1. A neophyte to advanced yogi. Here's the eightfold yoga process. Yam, niyam, asana, pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana. So samadhi, dhyana and samadhi, meditation. So a neophyte has to do his work while practicing yoga. An advanced practitioner ceases from any work. He just goes off to the Himalayas and meditates. So regulations of yoga here is how to be free from all your suffering of the body and mind is by regulation. Here we have the devotee doing something different the 24 hours of the day, doing different services, chanting, reading, writing, sleeping. So if you're regulated in eating, sleeping, working, and recreation, you can mitigate all pains by practice of yoga. I'll read that verse. For one who's eating, sleep, and work and pleasure regulated, by yoga practice constantly, all pains are mitigated. So this lesson here, regulation mitigates all pains. You'll be free from all pains if you are regulated. Regulation is the mode of goodness. It's a mode of balance. Your modes are balanced, your life is balanced, and you can get free from your sufferings. Part 2, we have higher levels of practice here. And determination is important. Here we have the sparrow who lost her eggs to the ocean. She's trying to empty the ocean. Garuda comes to help, and the ocean is afraid of Garuda and gives her eggs back. So God helps those who help themselves. But Arjuna, it's described, super soul realization is described how Krishna will, if you see Krishna everywhere, then Krishna is your friend, and he will take care of you completely. But Arjuna says, no, this is very difficult. The mind is like the wind. I cannot control it. When Krishna says, no, I know it's difficult, but it is possible. So I will read verse 35. To curb the restless mind is a difficult achievement, but it is possible by practice and detachment. So practice and detachment we can control. That's the lesson here. How to control the mind by practice and by detachment. So then we will get super soul realization here. So what was no, we didn't have a lesson. Okay, only one lesson. All right, and I just told you. So you probably didn't forget it yet. Yeah, regulation. Oh yeah, regulation is also good too. Yeah, that was a lesson, wasn't it? Regulation mitigates all pains. Good, good. And what was the lesson that was just here in this section here? What was the lesson we learned from chapter 6, part 2? We learned a lesson here, and that is how to control the mind by two things. By practice. Oh, go ahead. What was that? Practice and detachment. Yay, we can control the mind. It's possible. But you need determination, like this little sparrow. Then you can control the mind. Okay, here's the unsuccessful yogi. He's like a riven cloud. Arjuna is afraid. I think I'll go to hell if I don't succeed. Krishna says, no, don't worry. You'll be born in a devotee family or a rich family. Here's a devotee family. And here's one example of a birth in a devotee family, walking right here. And he's getting a chance to see Bhagavad-Gita right from a young age. And here we see devotees out on Harinam, and there's some little kid who's running to the Harinam, and the parents are thinking, what's wrong with our kid? Somehow the kid, maybe in previous life, had some association, did some service, so he will be automatically attracted in this life. Topmost yogi is the devotee. Krishna's devotee is the highest yogi. That's the lesson we learn here in this chapter. Here we Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. This is the yoga ladder. And Bhakti Yoga is the goal. And it is also the means to achieve the goal. None of these others can achieve the means of perfection without some bhakti. You need bhakti. You need that yoga part there. So what was the lesson we learned here in this section here? Yes? What? Oh, okay. And don't worry about being unsuccessful. You won't be unsuccessful, and even if you don't finish in this life, you'll get a good birth. Good lesson, yeah. And what was the other lesson we learned here? Topmost yogi is Krishna's devotee. Good. So chapter 7. Krishna is supreme. So out of many millions of men, one may be liberated. Out of many liberated souls, one may know Krishna in full. Here we have the material elements, and higher is the soul, and Krishna is the source of even the super soul, spiritual and material worlds. And here we see the necklace that Krishna is holding in his hand. I'll read verse 7, which explains that special necklace. No truth is above me. Of all beings, I'm the head. All things do rest on me as pearls strung on a thread. Right. So Krishna is the essence, light of the sun and the moon, taste of water, and syllable Om, Vedic mantras. And if you surrender to Krishna, then you are free from the modes of nature. That's the lesson we learn here. One who surrenders to Krishna becomes free from the modes of material nature. Here, Krishna is above the modes, and that's why if we surrender, then he will take care of us. He will liberate us from the modes of nature. Now, Krishna is the essence, so we have to taste the essence, taste the water, and remember Krishna. Krishna. I was just hearing a lecture by Srila Prabhupada. He said, even if one is drinking liquor, if he thinks the taste of this liquor is Krishna, then he will become a devotee one day. He will become a saint if he thinks the taste of this liquor is Krishna. Okay, so what was the lesson we just learned here in this section of chapter 7? Everything rests on Krishna. Good. And everything rests on Krishna. So if we surrender, we'll get free from the three modes of nature. Okay. Chapter 7, part 2. Let's see. Impious and pious. So here we have the impious people, the donkey-like man, the alcoholic, the sahajya, the one who is in knowledge, the one who is, but his knowledge is stolen by illusion. Then we have the four pious people, one who is in distress, who needs money, who is curious, and who is searching for knowledge. These four surrender to Krishna. The other four do not surrender. And so then we have in the middle, of course, the Jnani is very dear because he is a friend. After many, many births of speculation, he finally realizes Krishna, Vasudeva, is everything. And he's chanting Hare Krishna, of course, even though he's still holding on to his books. So then we have the demigod worshippers and impersonalists. That's the next section here. People worship the demigods. They don't know that Krishna is giving what they want to the demigods, and the demigods are giving to them. They have to get it from Krishna. They are not independent. Demigod worshippers, the impersonalists also. So Krishna is covered by Maya. He covers himself so they do not see him. And then the last section, freedom from bewilderment. I'll read verse 26. As Supreme Lord, I know everything, future, present, past as well. I know all living beings, but of me no one can tell. So he's covered to the impersonalists. He's covered, so no one can know him. And then so many things are described at the end of this chapter. And the next chapter causes Arjuna to ask questions about Brahman, the soul, the demigods, karma. And Krishna answers all those questions in the first 4 verses. And then his last question, how do I remember you at time of death? So remembering Krishna, he says, if you look at the different purports of chapter 8, attaining the Supreme, 17 times in the chapter in the verses of chapter 8, Mahamantra is mentioned. Krishna, Prabhupada says, chant Hare Krishna. Remembering means chanting, first lesson. So, and whatever you think of at the time of death determines your next destination. So I'll read verse 6. And we have, verse 6 is about, whatever one will think of when his body he will quit, that thought will always stay with him, and he will attain it. So here the devotee, he's remembering Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna. And here he's chanting and he's going back to Godhead by remembering Krishna. So that's the lesson. Whatever you think of time of death determines your next destination, and remembering means chanting Hare Krishna. And the last section here is Yoga Misha Bhakti. The yogi, it's possible for him to go to Krishna if he remembers Krishna at the time of death also. And for that, of course, he needs association with a pure devotee. Because generally, the yogi meditates on Supersoul, four-armed, and he may even want to merge in Supersoul if he's not guided by a pure devotee. So, Yoga Mishra Bhakti is described here. Yogi can also go back to Godhead, but he has to remember Krishna at the time of death, just like everyone else who goes back to Godhead. It's not simply automatic. So what was the lesson here in the first section? Here. Huh? Remembering Krishna means chanting Hare Krishna. Okay. Good. Good. And part 2, pure devotional service. He's chanting again. And not going to heavenly planets or to the Brahman. He's going straight to Krishna. And to be free from this miserable world, one must always think of Krishna, go to him and never come back. So that's the yogis in devotion, they go straight. And this is pure devotional service here. Material and spiritual worlds, here we see the dark material world, which is always being created and destroyed, full of misery, temporary, and everyone lives and dies repeatedly. But transcendental to this is the spiritual world. So here in 8th chapter it's described a little bit. We get a glimpse of the spiritual world where we should desire to go, Prabhupada says. I'll read verse 21. That world is called infallible, where there is never lack, and one who goes to my abode will never come back. And here, devotional service includes all. So all of our Varnashram is included in devotional service. We're taking the direct path. We'll hear more about it tomorrow in chapter 12. Indirect, and here's about the time to leave the body. This chapter is about attaining the Supreme. So I'm going to read verse 27. Devotees who know these two paths are never in confusion, so always fix yourself in loving devotion. So for the devotees, they don't have to worry about leaving in night, leaving in day, leaving in night. They just chant Hare Krishna and go back to Godhead very nicely. So then we'll go to chapter 9. It's the last chapter for today. King of Knowledge, most confidential knowledge. Of course, here we have Arjuna is not envious, so he's getting the highest knowledge. And looks like the highest knowledge here is chanting Hare Krishna. I'll read verse 2. This knowledge is most pure of all education, the king. Religion's perfection, the path of joy gives realization everlasting. So the lesson here is devotional service is joyful. So if you're not joyful, then your Maya is attacking you. Maya is attacking. Chintya Beta Beta Tattva, the second section, that although Krishna is everywhere, he's personally present in Goloka Vrindavan. Where is verse? Here we are. He's everywhere, he's all-pervading as Super Soul and Brahman, but his personal abode is Goloka Vrindavan. I'll read verse 10. This great material nature is under my direction, producing all beings in creation and destruction. Okay? So although creation and destruction happen according to his will, he's not attached to it. Here he is up in Goloka Vrindavan. So, what lesson did we learn here? 2 lessons? No. Yes? Joyful. Devotional service is joyful. Yes. And another lesson we learn here. Achintya Beta Beta Tattva. Krishna is simultaneously here, but he's also in his abode in the spiritual world. Okay, we're moving on. This is the last chapter we'll do today. Devotees and non-devotees. Here, Krishna comes in his beautiful human form, and the non-devotees who have the faces of donkeys, I would say monkeys, it could be monkeys in Vrindavan. They are deriding Krishna. And the lesson here, atheists are frustrated in their endeavors. No good karma, no knowledge, no liberation. But the devotees, they take shelter of the divine energy. Srimati Radharani here is protecting Raghunath Das. And they are successful. So that's the lesson, that the atheists are frustrated, devotees are successful. I recently saw something on the internet where one atheist, he had a near-death experience, and he went to hell, actually. He was being punished for his, and he described it. I mean, I didn't go to that part because I'm too sensitive, but he started to describe how he was being punished. And then he came back in his body. The doctor saved his life. But he lived to tell it. Yes, this is true. The atheists are not successful. They are frustrated. And devotees are under protection of the divine nature. He was saying, yeah, now I'm faced with death, and death is everything. Death means, okay, everything's finished now. And he was outside of his body, and his wife was there, and he was angry with his wife because she wasn't talking to him. And he was talking to her in his subtle body, and he said, I'm here, you can't see me. Because he didn't believe in the subtle body. Yeah, anyway. So this is a fact. Then we have here universal form. Krishna is every aspect of the universal form: the fire, the butter, the offering, the goal, the witness, the shelter, the most dear friend, the Vedas, Om. He's everything in the universal form. And second canto describes that. How to relate to the universal form of Krishna. Okay, so what lesson do we learn here in this section of Bhagavad-Gita? Atheists are unsuccessful. and devotees are successful. Devotees take shelter of the Devi Prakriti, Srimati Radharani. This verse is quoted in Nectar of Devotion, verse 13. It says, actually Radharani is mentioned in Bhagavad-Gita. She's the Devi Prakriti that devotees take shelter of. All devotional services is taken under the shelter of Srimati Radharani. So, next section, demigod worshippers and devotees, they fall down into the material pool again. They may go to the higher planets, but they don't stay there, they come back. But for the devotee, Krishna makes up for what the devotee lacks and protects what he has. That's the lesson we learned here. And other lessons that devotee, the demigods, you worship the demigods, you go to the demigods. You worship ghosts, you go to ghosts. You worship materialistic people, you go there. You worship Krishna, you go to Krishna. Okay, so the last section is called Pure Devotional Service. Here, a leaf of flower, fruit, and water, if you offer, then Krishna says, with devotion, I will accept it. All that you do, all you eat, all you offer and give away should be done as a sacrifice, and then your karma will be finished. Here we have the devotee trying to leave Krishna consciousness. He's breaking all the regulative principles, but somehow he can't forget his association with Srila Prabhupada, with Krishna. And Krishna is there, he's grabbing him by the hair and taking him back. So the devotee, if he still remembers Krishna, even if he doesn't, Krishna will not forget his devotional service that he performed in this life. And here we have the last verse, which is repeated in the end of Bhagavad-Gita. Always think of Krishna, worship him, and you will go to him. That's the lesson for this section here. So this is Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 9, finished. Any questions or comments on this? Yes?
There was the story about the parrot and something I don't remember the story. You said also that God helps those who help us.
Oh yeah, the sparrow. The sparrow.
Yeah. So what was the...
Chapter 6.
Yeah. What was it about?
Yeah, there was a sparrow whose eggs were taken by the ocean. And she was upset with the ocean, and she said, I will dry up the ocean and get my eggs back. So she was taking out the water of the ocean by her beaks. And she was determined to dry up the ocean. And the ocean didn't pay attention, he was just laughing. And then Garuda came and said, don't worry, I will help you. And then the ocean got scared because Garuda could do it. And the ocean gave her eggs back. And that's an example of determination. If we are determined, then Krishna will help us. Well, God helps those who help themselves. So we get the mercy of Krishna, we need the mercy of Krishna, but at the same time, we have to endeavor for it. We have to endeavor. So endeavor is important, our endeavor in devotional service. Any other questions or comments? Yes? It's the superiority of action over renunciation. Yeah, chapter 5. Yeah, sometimes devotees, they renounce in the early, artificially, they would renounce, but still with the desires in their heart. And so then later on they fell down from that renunciation. So better if you remain an honest sweeper in the street, Srila Prabhupada said. And in India there are some examples of swamis who are not in ISKCON, who cheat people. I remember in one Kumbh Mela there was one with the matted hair, and he was begging. And then the money fell on the ground, and he leaned over, and his whole wig fell off. He was trying to show how he was so renounced, and not, you know. So there are some who take to renunciation or begging just to make a living out of it, and who are not sincere. So we should be careful not to fall into that trap of renouncing and then living at the cost of society. Better to be an honest grihasta, an honest sweeper in the street, Prabhupada says. Better to be an honest sweeper than a charlatan meditator. So, like, I think that another example is the modern, not just modern, but in my day too, it was this yogi, this one process. They say you meditate morning and night, and you will become God in 6 months. And so, yeah, it doesn't work. Yes?
You mentioned that in the
Third chapter.
that Sankirtan Yoga is, the message is to perform Sankirtan Yoga,
Mm-hmm.
I understand, right? So I was wondering, how can that be established from Bhagavad-Gita? That section seems to be talking about offering
With sacrifice. Yeah.
and offering one's absence, but there's nothing about...
Well, there is the verse that you should worship Vishnu, and also verse 9 and verse 10. Verse 10 says that in the beginning of creation, the Lord sent forth generations of men and demigods along with sacrifice for Vishnu. So Srila Prabhupada elaborates on that and says that sacrifice was Harinam, the Sankirtan, that they should perform this Harinam. And so it's Prabhupada's elaboration on the text that gives us that idea. That he, all through Bhagavad-Gita, right from the beginning, he says surrender to Krishna, even though it doesn't come till the end. He says surrender to Krishna, chant Hare Krishna, perform Harinam. So yeah, especially on the that rain comes from sacrifice. We need rain for grains, and then you have to go to the Vedas, and the Vedas describe sacrifice. So in the Vedas, it's described that Harinam is there also in one of the Upanishads, Kali Santara Upanishad, to chant Hare Krishna. It's described. So yeah, Prabhupada goes through that, so that he brings the connection in there. So therefore, the pictures that we show were not just the verses; there were some of verses and purports combined, especially in chapter 8. Where a lot of the purports were to chant Hare Krishna. In chapter 3, it's also there, chant Hare Krishna. Any other questions? Mm-hmm.
In the ladder of the yoga system, you mentioned Bhakti Yoga complements other forms of yoga.
What I said was that without Bhakti Yoga, they cannot be successful. Yeah, Karma Yoga. Even if you're a karmi, there is mentioned the sacrifices in the Vedas, you have to worship Vishnu. The Jnani Yogis, they chant Hare Krishna to get success. They also chant, even the Impersonalists, the Jnanis, they chant. Now, a lot of the yoga groups in the West, they're impersonal, but they have adopted the chanting of Hare Krishna. They invite the devotees to come. Because and now it's required to read Bhagavad-Gita if you want to train for yoga. You have to read Bhagavad-Gita. And so they realize that. And the yogis, so the yogis also, yes. To perform yoga, you have to. So they're putting a little philosophy in there. They understand, they realize, well, what keeps people there is bhakti. Some devotion is required to attain success.
And their success is not liberation, it's something else.
Who knows whatever success they want, yeah. Yeah, the karmis want to enjoy, the jnanis want to renounce, and the yogis want mystic powers. And so they have different goals, but even if they want those goals, they need to have some bhakti mixed. Yoga Mishra Bhakti, Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti. It has to be mixed with it. And that's in purports. I was just reading 4th canto. Prabhupada was saying that they cannot have any success unless bhakti is also there. Just in chapter 31 of Canto 4, there's a couple of purports where Prabhupada elaborates on that and says how it's not possible for them to get any success without a mixture of bhakti. Yeah. Any other questions?
There is so many different topics.
Right.
How could one practice seeing the whole Bhagavad-Gita somehow with all this amount of topics?
Yeah, at the end of each chapter there are summaries. So you start with the summaries. You start with the bigger picture and then you can go to the smaller picture. You just learn what's in each chapter, learn the few topics, so you get conversant with what's in each chapter. And then you see the summaries at the end of the chapter. And then after that you can go into more detail but by the pictures you can understand what's happening. A change of body cannot be cut or dried. And so then first you go to the general and then you go to the details. And that's the way to remember. There's 80, 82, 81, 82 different topics. So you learn those and then you can... 18 chapters and 81 topics. Any other questions? Yes?
I mean, I had a specific question on one of the verses.
That's okay.
Because I realized that I know Krishna is that supreme person and super soul is the authorized aspect, but how I don't quite understand, because it seems that super soul is a person and we relate to him, but he's a different capacity. How to understand the difference between super soul and Bhagavan?
Super soul in Krishna. Well, you should read very carefully chapter 9, verse 29, because there Prabhupada makes the distinction. He says the super soul in everyone's heart gives everyone, what they deserve. But if one becomes a devotee, then he's no longer under the laws of karma, and the super soul becomes his friend, his actual friend. But otherwise, the super soul is neutral. Then, in that case, he's Bhagavan, the super soul.
If the yogi turns to the super soul and worships him, does he become more personal?
The yogi, the question, does the yogi become more personal if he turns to super soul? He can go two ways. He can become more personal, or he can he can think, oh, this is me, I've got self-realization. I'll merge in, this is me. He may, unless he gets the proper association, he may go the wrong way and say, oh, I'm going to merge. Mm-hmm.
Would you agree that is an act of intelligence?
Well, it's not just an act of intelligence. You need good association too.
Yes, but if the yogi starts to identify with the super soul, then he will become intelligent, wouldn't it?
It would be what?
It would be dumb.
Yeah, it would be. We see that as dumb, but they don't, because they think, okay, now I got realization. This is me. He doesn't understand that super soul is higher, or Bhagavan. He doesn't understand that it's God. He just thinks, oh, this is I've seen myself now.
Isn't that then schizophrenic?
Yeah.
If you're a yogi, then you should not be.
Right. So if a devotee, if he goes and tells a devotee, oh, I got self-realization, so what does it look like? Oh, yeah, I got 4 hands and the Kaustubha jewel, and he said, no, that's not you. The devotee will set him right. That's the Lord. That's Vishnu. Yeah. Yeah.
Because at one point it's not really a function of intelligence, it's a function of desire, because your intelligence, supports your desire. So intelligence alone doesn't make you Krishna conscious or not Krishna conscious. It comes from the desire, it comes from a higher platform, Because intelligence will adjust to your desires and prove whatever you want.
That's true.
And it's also taught in the Bhagavad-Gita
But yeah, intelligence is described in the 10th chapter, that Krishna gives intelligence. So that intelligence will help you. That what Krishna gives. When you engage in devotional service, priti purvakam, with love, then Krishna gives you intelligence, how to advance. That's 10th chapter, verse 10. But then, Maya also gives you wrong intelligence, if you can go the other way. So unless you have a guru, unless you have a proper guru, then it's maybe hard to distinguish between material and spiritual intelligence. And that's why you need to, when you're in doubt, you need to ask the guru. Ask the guru. That's why guru is stressed in Bhagavad-Gita, to approach a guru who is self-realized. Yes? Okay, you already had, so. Yeah, all the arguments he presents. Yeah, it's on the moral platform. He's talking on the moral platform. Dharma. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's true. He's speaking the truth. But actually, it didn't happen, the degradation of society didn't happen through the war. It happened through the Brahmana Shingi, who cursed Parikshit. It happened through the Brahmanas, actually. The degradation of society started with the degradation of the Brahmanas. And so that was actually how Kali entered. Kali was waiting for a loophole, and he found it in this child Brahmana who cursed Parikshit. So it wasn't because of the battle of Kurukshetra, it was because of this Brahmana that there was, because Parikshit's kingdom was fine. Kali had no place there. But then when he was cursed, then that was it. That was the end of the good rule of the Kshatriyas. Yes? What are transcendental senses? Transcendental senses is very simple. If you use your senses to please Krishna, then your senses are transcendental. Rishikena Bhaktir, I can't remember. Huh? Okay, yeah. Bhaktir Uttama. Bhakti means to transcendental senses. If you're smelling the flower offered to Krishna, then that's transcendental senses. If you're working for Krishna, if you're digging, if you're doing farming for Krishna, that's transcendental senses. So, of course, but in the spiritual world, so that's one idea, one meaning of transcendental senses, to use these senses. And another meaning is, in the spiritual world, your senses are interchangeable. That we can't do here. You can eat with your ears, and you can smell with your feet, and you can see with your hands. So in the spiritual world, you get interchangeable senses like the Lord has. Interchangeable. And you may also get two identities. Brahma Samhita describes some devotees go to Goloka and to Navadvip, go to Vrindavan and to Navadvip at the same time. So yeah, it's in the spiritual world it's much more magnified, and there's much more flexibility of the senses, interchange, just like Krishna has. Any other questions? Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Hare Krishna. If you want a book, you can come and see me afterwards.